Hello, thank you for watching this video. All about those who are probably interested in cyber security jobs. You want to switch career to cyber security, especially if you haven't got any technical background or technical knowledge or experience. GRC should be probably the right place to start. You know, GRC probably the right place to start. Um, that's governance, risk and compliance. That is this aspect of cyber security that does not require technical experience for you to be able, to work comfortably so you can get a GRC role. So this video is all about what you need to learn, what you need to learn, and also the non-technical certifications that are required, for you to prepare you, for the job place. And then if you're able to go through this video and able to learn those stuff, I can guarantee you that, you can, help get a job. And then it now depends on what you want. This video can help you and guide you if you want to do self-study or, study on your own, or even if you want to, use a trainer or register with a training house, or you want to study alone, uh, follow the guide on this video, and I'm sure at the end you'll be happy. So let's crack on. Now, first of all, you need to know, the basic, some of the, cyber security basics, and that includes, introduction to cyber security, GRC, what is cyber security, and what is GRC. And then also you need to learn what is, called the CIA triad. Read about the CIA triad. That is about confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information, because everything around cybersecurity revolves around um, CIA, confidentiality, availability, integrity, and integrity. The other way around anyway. So learn about the CIA triad, and yeah, you get more details about it. And then you can as well get yourself a little knowledge on just network basics, networks, just what network is all about. Maybe OCI model, not in depth, just shallow knowledge of what it's all about, because despite the fact that, it is a GRC role, that you are also going to be, interacting with the technical people. So that the reason for learning some of these basics is so that when they are discussing, when you are having meeting with them or discussing, you get familiar with the terminologies. They use some of these technical terminologies. So all you need is what basic knowledge of these terms. So and then you also need to understand cybersecurity stakeholder management. This is not something that is very compulsory, but then, you know, as a cybersecurity GRC person, you're going to be relating with different stakeholders in the business. So, and also for the purpose of interview too, because it's a common interview question on GRC rules. How do you manage stakeholders? So, to have a bit knowledge of that as well. And then um, developing cybersecurity program or strategy. It is not, this for me, this is just, it's not compulsory ideally, but if you can, no knowledge is wasted, no knowledge is lost, because most time you are going to work in a company, they already have all this cyber security program designed, developed already. So you might not even need to develop one. Even me, I have never developed one in my entire, career history. So just a bit knowledge of it if you don't mind, but you can skip that if you feel like, yeah, you can skip it, but just yeah. So then compliance management is cybersecurity compliance management. Compliance management talk about how companies, comply with regulation, because cybersecurity, there's the compliance side of it. It's all about complying with different requirements. So you are meant to comply with the regulators. The regulators have interest in cybersecurity, and then the government of the land, the law, have interest in cybersecurity, and then your contractors or customers have interest in your security before they can do business with you. So and then your standard, you have some security standard that you can implement, which you can adopt, or so they so how do you comply with each of them? Compliance with the requirement of the standard, with legal requirement of regulators, with contractual requirements. So just kind of stuff like that. And then so that is talked about some of the basic, that you need to have some knowledge of, not because of interview alone. Also, if you are going to a new environment, you need a wider knowledge, and then so the next one is cybersecurity risk management. This is very important, very, very important, because you're going to form your core responsibility, risk management. You need to know everything about cyber security risk management. And I've broken it down, for more understanding. And then this includes the following: how to develop an IT risk management program. Companies, they have a risk management strategy, how they want to manage it. So they document this in a program. It can be a policy or risk management policy or risk management program. Some people depend on what name each company calls it, but how to develop a risk management program, what is included in a risk management program. Like I also say, I have not developed one myself, even though I'm working in Cyber Security GRC for years. Most companies already have it, but having the knowledge, most companies already have this program designed and developed, but having the knowledge, well, it's also beneficial how it is done, and then very, very important, you must know how to conduct IT risk assessment, otherwise known as information security risk assessment. Risk assessment, this is the core, this is a very core and very important key area in IT risk management. You have to learn how to conduct risk assessment, because risk assessment is how you can determine the level of risk and the nature of risk that is existing. So that is very, very important. And then also, you need to also learn how to implement risk treatment plan, because the result of risk assessment will give you the level of the risk, maybe high risk or low risk or medium risk. And then the next thing you start, when there is a high risk, you need to treat the risk. So you need to understand how to implement risk treatment. There are various ways of treating risk. Yeah, so that's also important. And then how to manage IT risk register. This is also very, very important. Risk register, because for every risk you assess, you're going to document it in a register. And it's from this register you're going to be monitoring and tracking your risk. So it's important you know how to maintain an IT risk register. And then reporting. Yeah, if you are, it depends on your position. You do everything, you need to report. Reporting, key metrics, risk metrics, key risk indicators. You need to report how many critical risks you've got, how many risks are open and all that. So you need to learn, have knowledge of risk reporting. It's very important. And then, yeah, if you like, you can as well look at what are some of the challenges of risk management, especially for interview purposes, to come up with, okay, because there's hardly any, you know, GRC role that you will not find element of risk management, knowledge of risk assessment, knowledge of risk methodology and all that. So it's important. And then, yeah, I know I've been asked before, what are some of the challenges you have faced in managing IT risk? So yeah, this is very important. You might be lucky to get a job and all you are doing is you are just in the risk department, just assessing risk. That might be your only job. And then so let's progress to the next one. Now, you need to have knowledge of security standards, security standards, cyber security standards. We have security standards. These standards provide requirements of what you should do, the steps you should take, the tools, technologies, processes you should put in place for you to establish an information security management system. Or simply put, they provide requirements that you need to adopt or to implement, for you to, to put cyber security in place in your organization. So this standard, you need to have knowledge of, there are loads of them, but I've outlined the basic ones. So what are the things you need to know about this security standard? Normally what happens is that companies get certified to this standard. And then for companies to get certified to these security standards, they need to be able to meet the requirement. The standards that set out the requirement. For example, the standard will say you must put password in place, and they can guide you on how to put that complex password in place. So that's one of the requirements, for example, just an example. So what you need to know, how how you have to implement, establish, implement the standard, and then how to get certified to this standard. It's a process. Each standard has its own certification requirement. And then how you maintain this standard, because after certification, you need to maintain it because this standard are renewed every year. So you need to keep maintaining it, keep maintaining it, keep doing, putting into practice those requirements. Because before you get certified, what happens is that they will you implement those requirements, they will come and audit you. And if you pass the audit, they give you a certificate. And then what happens is that every year they come back to audit you. So they want to make sure that you are maintaining those, those things that gave you, that earned you the certification in the first place. You are still maintaining them. You did not get certified and just abandon the whole process. So they'll come and audit you to make sure that you are still, eligible to be recertified. So, and then how do you maintain compliance with them? So you might have to ensure that so these are some of the things you should know about the standard. And some of them, basically ISO 27001, very important. This is a very, very important standard. ISO 27001, should learn about it, what it does, what is the purpose, and you know some of the requirements all the requirements that it provides. And then you should also know, like I said before, how to implement it, how to maintain it, how to get certified to it, and then how to get renewal, recertify, which means to renew the certificate. So there's nothing special about renewal. It's only that once you get certified, you did certain things to get certified. So you also need to continue doing those things that you did initially to get you to be able to get renewal, because auditors are coming back again to audit you before they can renew your certificate. So you need to understand how everything about each of these standards. So another one is Cyber Essential. This is basically for UK companies or anybody who is a UK standard. So if you're outside the UK, it may not be necessary to have the knowledge of it. So yeah. So and then PCI Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. This is very important. It's a standard, for this. For example, this ISO any company can use ISO, and it's the most popular standard. You buy widely used. Yeah. So this idea says only those companies that accept, that process card payment, debit card, credit card payment, and so for only those companies. So it is important because it's also widely used, because a lot of companies are doing business online, they accept card payment. So, and then SOC 2. SOC 2 is like for service organization control, for companies that are providing services. Okay, where you can demonstrate that your company have what it takes, to protect confidential information, to protect privacy of information, privacy of data, privacy and security of data. So you see how there's a process of how all this one apply to all the standard. And then also knowledge of NIST. NIST is very important. It's an American standard, but widely used as well, just like this ISO, widely used all over the world. People are, getting adopting this standard all over the world. So NIST is very important. NIST CFE. So understanding of basic so some of the things you need to know on this standard is what controls do they have? Control domains, they have different control sections. Most of them have they have similar controls. They have common controls, same controls or safeguard. What is called safeguard is applied to all of them. So understand basic knowledge of how it is, the structure. I forgot to add the structure as well. What is the structure of the standard? Let me just quickly add that before the structure. Structure. What is the structure like? Structure. So that is very important also. What is the structure of the standard? Apart from implementation, you need to know the structure. Yeah, every standard has structure. So, and then NIST, and then GDPR as well. GDPR, talking about data protection. Data protection, you need to also have little knowledge, even though most companies have data protection officer, but as a cyber security person, you should have knowledge of how to implement GDPR, data protection, and have knowledge of what is GDPR, how to implement it, and how it works. So, most companies have data protection, but for some companies, especially small companies that they don't need or they don't have, they're not big enough to have a data protection officer, you as a GRC person might as well advise on how to advise. They can depend on you to advise them on how to comply with basic GDPR requirements. So that is very important. This standard that you should know, kind of in detail. So, and then look at policies, cyber security policy. It's a cyber security professional, GRC professional, if you know how to write policy. Because all the standards we mentioned here, they work with policy. For you to implement the requirement of this standard, their recommendations, their security recommendations, you have to write policies for each of the controls. For example, if the standard says you must implement good password policy, security in place, you will first of all document it in a policy. You first of all write password policy. The details of what is included in the policy can also be found in the standard. So you need to learn how to write cyber security policy. What is information security policy? How to write, develop security policy and procedures. For every policy, for example, let me give you an example, password security policy. Inside the policy, we say, okay, this is how we want to implement password security. We want to make sure that our password security is 8 characters minimum, mixture of special character, alphanumeric character, capital letters, small letters, and then we will now begin to give some rules, We don't want phrases, known phrases. You cannot reuse the same password you have used before. You change your password every 90 days. That is what is in the policy. That means this is how you want to implement the path. So you document it. So you need to know how to write policy and procedure. For every policy, there's a procedure. Once you write a policy, there's a procedure. Then it doesn't end there. You can write policies, but you should also learn how to implement policies. Implement is like beginning to practice what is in the policy. Then you can test the policy, how to test the policy by way of auditing it, to monitoring that it is being implemented. And you can review the policy. You also learn how to review policy. That's simple. Review policy if there is anything has changed, or minimum. Sometimes policies are reviewed minimum yearly. So how to review it, just very simple. So yeah, it can be change of date. It was written today, next 1 year, it has a new version. So the content should remain the same, or the content can change because of security have changed, the regulators have changed their rules, the standard have changed. So the content can change. That's a review. So like update. So that's all about security policy. Then another major thing you need to know is about supplier, or they call it vendor, or suppliers, or they call it also, can be also called third party risk assessment. This is where companies, what the due diligence that companies do before onboarding suppliers. In other words, if you're going to get in a supplier to provide a service for you, it could be a payroll service or something. What there is a process of getting them in. It's also recommended by the standard. There's no security standard we talked about. All of them have provision requirement for onboarding suppliers. You don't just onboard them, you assess the risk they're going to bring into the organization. You assess the risk and be able to advise the organization that, oh, this supplier is a high-risk supplier. So because they don't have good controls in place, they don't have any security standard in place. So so you need to learn the process. So conducting suppliers or vendors risk assessment and due diligence, there's a process of doing that. And then one of the things they're going to do also is to review the contract. Before you bring in a supplier, you're going to sign a contract, SLA, service level agreement, or a contract. So one of your responsibilities is to review the contract to ensure that the contract contains some security terms, security clauses, so you need to also, and then can also be the other way around. You can also be, supporting the big team. If your companies now, for example, this one we talk about your suppliers. Now, if your company is a supplier to another company, then definitely before you bid for jobs, you have to fill some questionnaire. But this one is nothing really to learn here. Nothing really much to learn here. It's just a question of filling questionnaires to support your bid team. But this is the basic thing you need to learn: suppliers risk assessment, how to conduct due diligence on suppliers, and how to review contract. So that is important. Most organizations have a department that responsible for this. So you might as well be lucky to get a third-party risk assessment job role. That is the only thing you're going to be doing, is just assessing suppliers, nothing else. You don't write policy, you don't do risk assessment, the IT risk assessment we mentioned earlier. You don't have anything to do with the standard and all that, but this might just be the only thing you'll be doing. So having good knowledge of it is beneficial. And then there are other topics also you need to learn about. Talking about a GRC role, you can't just concentrate on just one thing. Before even a company want to employ you, you expect that you have knowledge of all these things, or all this, because you can work in organizations where you will need to be doing everything. You need to be involved in everything. And then if you are lucky to work in big organization, you might just be doing just one part of it, like especially, for example, just suppliers risk, or just policy, or just, yeah. So, but if you are working in smaller company, you need to have knowledge of all this. So there are other things you need to be also learn or study about, which is very, very important as well. And One of them is vulnerability management basic, vulnerability management. Just have some knowledge about it. How does it work? What is vulnerability? How companies manage vulnerability. Just like they have scanners that scan the system, the network for virus or for loopholes. So, and then when the scanner discovers any vulnerability, any weakness in the system, they quickly correct it. That's the process of. So you need to learn the process. And then there's what we call penetration testing. Basic. You might not be the one doing this, but knowing how it works is very important, especially for interviews. Penetration testing is like getting consultants, pen testers to come and try to hack you. Your company will contract them legitimately. They try to hack you, hack into your system to see if they can penetrate into your system and cause damage. The same way attackers hack, try to hack enemies. The same way, yeah, exactly the same way. So you need to learn the basic of penetration testing. You will not be able to, you can't do it, but you might well be in a position to scope it. In other words, to liaise with the pen testers, to know the information they will need from you. So it's very important how pen testing works. And then another important one is information security, internal auditing. Like I said, it can be a department of its own, IT audit department. So if you are lucky to have a job, all you'll be doing is just auditing and auditing. So, and then yeah, so that is information security auditing. But if you are working in a smaller company, like now, like I said before, you might be involved in everything, including auditing. So learning how to do IT internal auditing is very important. So there's another one we call business continuity and disaster recovery. Yeah, planning. BCP, business continuity plan, and disaster recovery. So you need to also know what business continuity is all about. How how companies it's like a process. It's a process company put in place to be able to continue in business when there is a disaster, whether there's an emergency, or whether there's a damage or destruction or something happens, something danger or bad happens to the company's system or network. How can they continue in business without breaking down, without you know shutting down production line, shutting down all their operations? So that is, you need to learn about it. And disaster recovery, how can they recover after after a catastrophic event or after an incident? So, and then another thing you might just have a little knowledge about is security in IT projects, software development. For companies that develop software, there are some controls, security controls they put in place. Those apps, applications, especially the ones you've got on your phone, you have apps. So those apps are developed in a secure manner. There are some security controls that they need to implement so that the app can be used securely. That's why you can use your apps securely without having issues. Your data, everything is protected in the app. So there are some security controls they put in place. You need to have knowledge of some of them. And then incident management as well. Incident management, not like attack, when you have a cyber attack, or every incident is not an attack anyway. You need to learn. There's a process, incident management process. The management process. You need to also learn how does it work. Cyber incident, cyber security incident. When there's an incident, there's a process you have to do to investigate the incident up to when you recover from the incident. So this is very important because you might also be involved in it. So, and then another thing you need to also learn is training and awareness, because as a cybersecurity person, they expect you to be training other staff on how to behave, how to be security conscious. How you have to help them to improve on their knowledge. It could be how to identify malicious email, phishing email, how to identify social engineering, how to identify threat, how not to fall victim of cyber attack, what they can be the do's and the don'ts. So you might as well understand some of the training topics. So very important as well. We mentioned GDPR before, so just repeating it here. So basically, um, having knowledge of all these areas will prepare you for, yeah, it might look voluminous, it might, especially if you don't have IT background, where this is basic GRC role. It might look, they've got a lot of people that have gone through this part, including myself talking to you. I've gone through this part, so I have knowledge of all the. There's a process of time. And then when you learn all this, there are some non-technical certifications. There are non-technical certifications that you will need because, yeah, good, you have knowledge of this stuff, but then you are going to the job market, employers these days no longer looking for just knowledge. They also want to see, have you got any certifications? So one of them is ISO 27001 Certified Lead Implementer, CISLI. These are, they're not too difficult to pass, though that does not make it easy. If you knowledge of all what we have talked about, if you are able to learn them, you can easily pass this exam, non-technical. There's nothing technical about it. I'm not going to ask you anything, configuration, anything. It's just procedure. Can you tell me what is the CIA? Well, they're not a question that you need to write anything. It's choice. You pick a choice, A or B or C, which one is the correct answer. So, and then also the same ISO 27001 lead auditor, certified lead auditor. Yeah. So, and then you have another certified information security manager, CISM. This one is a little bit more robust and more expensive than these other ones. Yeah. So like I said, you can start with one of them. As you have the money, you can start with one of them, maybe especially these two. If you have money for the two, fine, go with these two, and then before you start writing applications. Yeah, or you can start studying towards them. The reason why I suggest you have them is that people that are going to submit CV with already have them. So if they are shortlisting based on certification, they're not going to shortlist you. So it's good you have one of them, or at least these two. These two. Yeah. There's another one, ISC2, entry level certified in cyber security, CC. Yes, it's by IS2. It's a free certification. It's a mix of some little bit technical, but it's not difficult. Yeah, you can also pass it. It's free certification. You can study it, but having just this is not enough. This is a free certification. Yeah, it's a internationally recognized certification. But yeah, that can as well be if you don't have money for any of this one. These are cheap, though they are cheap. But if you don't have money for that, if you want to go for the free one, fine. But having this, and this, or this and this, one of these, and then this free one will also put you in a better position. And then after you've got the certification, question is that how do you prepare for interviews? I've got loads of GRC video interviews on this channel. You have a lot of GRC video interviews on this channel. So you don't have challenge, you don't have problem, preparing for interviews. You don't have problem preparing for interview. You have a lot of video that you can watch on different topics, different area, and then so you don't have issues with that. So get the certification. But while doing that, you'll be preparing for your interviews, and then so begin to apply for jobs, send out your CVs. And then also let's look at other question is that after you have acquired this certification and this knowledge, how do you get a GRC job without experience? That is the question that you might ask. I've gotten the knowledge, yeah, I've gotten the certification, fine. But the question is that how do I get a GRC job without experience? Because you need a CV, you need to have a CV, prepare a CV, add everything that, yeah, employers are looking for experienced people. How do you get this job without experience? Well, that is a question that can be answered, when you can contact us for more details or more information. We can give you more information on how you can achieve this, offline. And so our contact details are here. Okay. So don't forget, please, to subscribe to this channel, and then you get notification for more videos. Share or like. If you like the video, you can like or share it, but please subscribe to the channel